Gabriel Garcia Marquez is the best-known Latin American novelist of the 20th century. Magic realism is his literary trademark, and his brilliant use of this convention leaves the reader suspended in the space between fantasy and actuality, and it is a happy place indeed. Garcia Marquez's oeuvre is extensive, but his fiction has captured and entranced the masses, so much so that he won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1982. Again and again, Garcia Marquez returns to certain themes: the contrast between dreamlike experiences and everyday reality, the enchanted or inexplicable aspect of fictional creation, and the solitude of individuals and societies that can never quite incorporate them. Certainly, these themes are evident in A Very Old Man with Enormous Wings. Garcia Marquez's A Very Old Man with Enormous Wings pokes fun at the psychological contours of a community and its institutions: education, religion, family, and entertainment. The neighbor woman, who knows everything about life and death, explains the angel's appearance as though the evidence is so clear no one should miss it. Father Gonzaga is suspicious of the peculiar angel chicken man because the being does not understand the language of God. Upon the arrival of the angel, Peleo and Elisenda's child is sick, but after the angel's arrival, the child gets better. And just as the family's child heals, a fact largely unnoticed by the parents, Peleo and Elisenda renege on sending the angel chicken man out to sea because they realize they can make money by using his presence and oddity as a money-making venture. The story takes us to the idea of the everyday marvelous, or those events that occur so regularly that we ignore their significance. When I was in college, some students in the psychology department posted a picture and a note on an outside public corkboard that said this: "The first person to identify the city where this fountain exists will receive $100. There were dozens of sticky notes representing every major city in the world: Paris, London, Rome, Florence, Venice, Stockholm, Munich, so very many cities. When the city's identity was revealed, no one earned the $100. Why? Because the fountain in the picture was situated in the middle of my college's campus. In fact, no matter where students were on the campus, they had to walk around the fountain to post their city choice. Such is the effect of the everyday marvelous. The wonder and beauty of our daily lives are often relegated to the trivial, unappreciated, and unnoticed." G.K. Chesterton talked about this phenomenon too in another chapter from Orthodoxy called The Ethics of Elfland. He says this: "Now, to put the matter in a popular phrase, it might be true that the sun rises regularly because he never gets tired of rising. His routine might be due not to a lifelessness, but to a rush of life. The thing, can be seen, for instance, in children when they find some game or joke that they especially enjoy. A child kicks his legs rhythmically through excess, not absence of life. Because children have abounding vitality, because they are in spirit fierce and free, therefore they want things repeated and unchanged. They always say, 'Do it again,' and the grown-up person does it again until he is nearly dead. For grown-up people are not strong enough to exult in monotony. But perhaps God is strong enough to exult in monotony. It is possible that God says every morning, 'Do it again' to the sun, and every evening, 'Do it again' to the moon. It may not be automatic necessity that makes all daisies alike. It may be that God makes every daisy separately, but has never got tired of making them. It may be that He has the eternal appetite of infancy, for we have sinned and grown old, and our Father is younger than we. The repetition in nature may not be a mere recurrence. It may be a theatrical encore. Heaven may encore the bird who laid an egg. If the human being conceives and brings forth a human child instead of bringing forth a fish or a bat or a griffin, the reason may not be that we're fixed in an animal fate without life or purpose. It may be that our little tragedy has touched the gods, that they admire from their starry galleries, and at the end of every human drama, man is called again and again before the curtain. Repetition may go on for millions of years by mere choice, and at any instant it may stop. Man may stand on the earth generation after generation, and as yet each birth be his positively last appearance. But appearance is precisely the problem in this story. Knowing what angels look like is rooted in ideology, which is often based on an interpretation of history. When ideology is challenged, we are uncomfortable and we must explain. When Father Gonzaga meets the angel chicken man, the creature does not meet his expectations, so religious and spiritual explanations will not hold. The creature does not acknowledge the priest or the priest tradition, so the assumption is the creature is here to usurp the priest's authority. To determine the angel chicken man's authenticity, the priest consults the hierarchy of man, not God. For those willing to forego ideology, the problem of appearance still requires explanation. What happened to make this creature look so problematic? This answer is supplied by the appearance of the tarantula girl, whose choice to dance against her parents' will caused her sorrowful fate. This ability to offer moral cause for a hideous effect meets expectation and causes the angel chicken man's novelty to fade. The tarantula girl makes sense, but the angel's ambiguity tests the villagers' faith, and they fail. Because they cannot explain his presence, they eventually ignore him. For the villagers, and often for us, miracles are too familiar and consequently go unrecognized. After the angel's arrival, Paleo and Elissenda's child gets well, the family becomes rich, and they build a new house, and none of this good fortune is attributed to the angel chicken man. Ayaan Hirsi Ali tells of her first visit to Amsterdam and riding a bus that arrived on time. She calls a consistent, reliable bus schedule a miracle. We flip a switch and a light comes on. We turn a knob and water comes out. We push a button and cold or warm air flows. We live with miracles every day. But we spend so much time looking for the spectacular that we miss the extraordinary. What then is the cure for our jaded, cynical life view? When we see that miracles are familiar, then we can see that the familiar is a miracle.